the Second Mononobe Eastern Expedition, and the fall of the Izumo Kingdom. In the previous story, we introduced how the second Himiko, Toyotama Hime of Usa, was preparing the Second Mononobe Eastern Expedition, leading the Sumakoku Toyo Kingdom. In the year 243, Toyotama Hime dispatched envoys to Wei, and again in 245. Wei sent military advisors to command the wars of its subject states, and in 247, on the fourth mission, Tajimamori was recognized as holding the rank second only to the queen. He was given a second yellow banner and a wooden tablet of military orders. Soon, the Eastern Expeditionary Army set sail from Sumakoku and stopped at Uasa. There they raised 8 yellow banners bestowed by Wei, praying for victory. This event gave rise to the name Hachiman Shrine at Usa, revered as the god of war. In 248, the allied armies of Mononobe and Toyo began their advance, dividing their forces into the Sanin and Seto inland sea routes. Main Army, Seto Inland Seafront. The main force was the Mononobe fleet, commanded by King Ikume. Following them were the Toyo ships of Toyotama Hime, Toyohiko, and Toyohime. The war lasted as long as 8 years. They landed in Aki province and attacked Izumo from the south. However, Toyotama Hime fell ill and was forced to build a palace at Itsukushima to recuperate. She appointed King Ikume as the supreme commander and ordered the army to advance to Kibi. Yet the Mononobe and Toyo forces were forced to halt, awaiting her recovery. Tajimamori's army attacked on Tawarayama Shrine. Meanwhile, Tajimamori raised the yellow banner and led his fleet toward Izumo. His target was the Tawarayama Shrine in eastern Izumo. After losing its palace in the war with Kibi, the Izumo Kingdom had moved its religious center to Tawarayama. The shrine, built on a low hill and protected by triple moats, was guarded by only a small number of soldiers. They could not withstand the overwhelming force and perished to the last man. The shrine was completely destroyed, a member of the royal family was slain, and hastily buried at Tomoda. Even today, arrowheads and sling stones unearthed at the Tawarayama site testify to the ferocity of that battle. Asakurahiko's army, the fall of western Izumo. Following Tajimamori, Mononobe General Asakurahiko Yatsunada, son of Toyohiko and King Unakami, attacked western Izumo. The palace at Chishi Shrine was destroyed, and the Izumo forces fled to the hills of Kunako. But they too were captured, and the last king of Izumo surrendered. Some forces advanced further east and established Uasa Shrine in Inaba. It was here that the myth of the white hair of Inaba was born. Tochine Army, the fall of eastern Izumo. Meanwhile, the main Mononobe army destroyed Kibi, and a detachment led by Tochine struck eastern Izumo. The Izumo king fled from Kamosu Shrine to Kumano Taisha. There, a peace agreement was concluded, and the Mononobe kingdom inherited wide-ranging control. The Izumo royal family established a residence in Kumano and continued to worship their ancestors. Thus ended Japan's first kingdom, the Izumo Kingdom, which had lasted for more than 700 years. The Kojiki and Nihon Shoki tell of its peaceful transfer of the land. But in truth, it was no voluntary surrender. Izumo was destroyed by the relentless assault of the Mononobe Toyo allied forces. It was not a transfer of the land, but a seizure of the land. The final aim of the Second Mononobe Eastern Expedition. The ultimate goal of the Second Mononobe Eastern Expedition was clear: to destroy both the Izumo and Kibi kingdoms, march into Yamato, and seize the Yamato court itself, bringing about full unification. The Mononobe forces were in fact the combined army of Sumakoku and Toyo, the true Yamato-koku army. The supreme commander was Queen Toyotama Hime of Usa, called the Second Himiko. The main fleet advancing through the inland sea consisted of King Ikume's Mononobe warships, followed by the Toyo vessels of Toyotama Hime, Toyohiko, and Toyohime. Yet Toyotama Hime fell ill and was forced to convalesce at Itsukushima. She eventually passed away at Hokonomaya in Aki, was temporarily buried on Miyajima, and later her remains were transferred to Usa, where a tomb was built in the sacred mountain of Usa Hachiman. The military commander sent from Wei then designated Toyohime, the 13-year-old daughter of Toyotama Hime, as the next queen. The Toyo, mentioned in the Weiji Waranjuan, was in fact this Toyohime. Thus, the hierarchy was fixed: Toyohime as number 1, and King Ikume, later the 11th Emperor Suinin, as number 2. The Legacy of Izumo. Thus, the Izumo kingdom, which had once stretched from Kyushu to the Tohoku region, faded from power. Some changed their names and went into hiding. Some retreated deep into the mountains and migrated repeatedly. And some, across the centuries, became the shadowy Izumo ninja. In every corner of Japan, traces of Izumo culture remain. The origins of Izumo are said to lie with the Dravidian people, who built the Indus civilization. Much of the Indus civilization remains unexplained, and even the Indus script has not yet been deciphered. The linguist Shin Ono pointed out that the origins of the Japanese language lie in Tamil. Of course, Japanese has been layered with elements from China, Korea, Europe, and beyond. It is difficult to reduce it to a single origin. But if we consider the history of Izumo, it may be that the deepest stratum of the Japanese language lies in the Dravidian tongue. If so, then perhaps the one who finally deciphers the Indus script will not be a Westerner, but a Japanese. The Japanese have a way of establishing a path, michi, do, in every endeavor, and intuitively understand what that path means. It is not Taoism of China, but the uniquely Japanese faith in Sai no Kami, the deities of the crossroads, a spiritual evolution we now call Dosojin. This distinctive Japanese tradition of the path of guidance and learning may well be one of the greatest contributions Japan can offer to the world in the 21st century. The Second Mononobe Eastern Expedition, a brutal struggle for power and divine authority. The Mononobe, guardians of the old gods, clashed with rivals seeking to build a new Yamato. This forgotten war was not just about territory, it was about who held the right to rule, both by blood and by heaven's will. Its outcome reshaped the destiny of Japan forever. Next time I will send you about the results of the power struggle in this battle. The second part will be next week. Stay tuned.